In today's episode, I'm going to be helping out some of you individuals that are looking to get out of the Army and get a civilian job. What's up, my friends? Welcome to an all-new video. In this one, I'm going to give out some tips for maybe some of those individuals that are currently in the Army and you're going to be transitioning at some point out of the Army into the civilian side, and give you some tips for how to maybe get a job, basically. I'm not like questioning your intelligence as far as how to get a job, but these are really just some tips. I've had this experience, obviously, from transitioning out of the Army and having to find a civilian job. Now, for some of you, you're not even in the military yet or in the Army yet, so this may not apply to you really, but it might help you out and maybe have some things to consider for, the long term, for when you do get to that point if you're not going to be a career soldier. As some of this stuff may not apply to those individuals that are looking to stay in the Army for 20 plus years and retire, but for those of you that maybe are looking to do 4, 5, 6, 10 years, whatever the case might be, and then transition out of the Army into the civilian sector, then maybe some of these tips will help out. But before we dive into some of these tips, I gotta say thanks again to Armed Forces Mobile for sponsoring this video. Armed Forces Mobile is a prepaid month-to-month cell phone service that has multiple cell phone plans, including unlimited everything, for only $55 a month. Now, you can use your own phone or you can buy one of their phones from there, but it does use the nation's fastest 4G LTE network. And the really nice thing is that 10% of all their proceeds go to their nonprofit that supports our nation's veterans as well as first responders. Now, if you need a cell phone provider, maybe looking to switch things up from your current provider, check out the link that'll be down in the description. That is going to be www.myafmobile.com/chaos. And if you use the promo code SAVE $5, then you save $5 off that first month that you sign up for. So I'm going to start this off with basically one step that you'll probably do when you're in the process of transitioning out of the Army during the process of ACAPing. I talked briefly about this during the video of talking about like the process of getting out of the Army, but you have these courses, these classes, and these different things that you'll do prior to getting out of the Army called ACAPing. One of the key things during this process is they do have a resume writing class, and I highly recommend that you take full advantage of that resume writing class. A really key thing is finding ways to mold what you did in the Army to the civilian world. If you were an 11 Bravo, you don't need to be putting on your resume killed people for a living or, kicked in doors for a living, right? Civilian side isn't going to care about that kind of thing. But you can look at, especially like if you had a squad leader time or platoon sergeant time or whatever the case might have been, leading individuals for this amount of years, or, some of the other experiences that you had for maybe training some of your soldiers, things like that. So that would be a key thing, is finding ways to mold what you did in the Army to be marketable for the civilian sector, for people looking at your resume. And a lot of those individuals that teach that resume writing class can really help out individuals to kind of mold that kind of content to that resume to help you maybe land these jobs that you want to get. Now, if you're stationed in maybe the area that you want to stay in, say, for example, like mine, when I was getting out of the Army, I was stationed on Fort Carson and I wanted to stay in that immediate area for Colorado Springs. So make connections with some of the people on post, especially if that's something you want to kind of do. If you want to get some kind of job, maybe a contracting job, a government job working on base, make some connections, especially you're doing training events where you're doing things at different locations on that base. Make some connections with some of those instructors, some of those contractors, some of those individuals, so that hopefully they can give you a heads up maybe when job openings come up. That was one of the key ways that I landed the current job that I do right now when I'm not making YouTube videos, is working on Fort Carson, teaching soldiers how to use a system known as JCR. I made some connections through the training facility. I knew some people that, were instructors there and taught there and everything like that. And then I stayed in contact with them when I got out of the Army. And when a position opened up, they hit me up and let me know, put in a good word, because that's one of the big things with like the government side of work and contracting work on Army installations or any military installation probably, is sometimes it's about who you know. Because yeah, they're going to do an interview process, they're going to interview people, but if one of those people that is applying for the job is someone they know or someone that has a good reputation with some of the people that work there, they might give that person the advantage and just bring that person on. So make sure you try to make some connections if that's what you're looking to do, is work on that installation. Another tip is a lot of times look for like job fairs going on and go to those job fairs. It can be really discouraging. I went to several job fairs when I was getting out of the Army, and a lot of times it's just talking to someone and they give you a business card and tell you to go to the website and apply for the job. But the thing that really helps you out is there might be places there that you didn't know about. So that's usually one of the key things, is you might learn about some, agency, some contracting military type of thing or whatever that maybe you think that you would enjoy or you would qualify for, and you wouldn't have thought about like looking them up before. So sometimes it helps that way of just educating yourself about maybe job opportunities that you wouldn't have thought of previously. Or sometimes it might lead to an interview, but most commonly, like when I did job fairs, it usually just led to someone giving you their business card and telling you to apply online. But that will definitely vary based on, you know, different places, different job fairs, different states, whatever the case might be. There are also some great websites for looking for job opportunities, things like Indeed. There is a website for clearance jobs, which if you have a security clearance, these are particular jobs that are looking for individuals that have security clearances. Now also, if you're looking for like, you know, contract work, working with the military, working for the government and stuff like that, you can look at like contracting websites. So places like Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, you know, all those kind of, you know, government contracting companies, and look to see what job offers they are currently, you know, looking to fill, what positions they're looking to fill in different locations. Now, moving a little bit away from, say, if you're looking for a job as a contractor or working for the government, working for the military, maybe you want to be a teacher. The Army actually has a program to help soldiers out to become teachers if they would like to. The Army has a program known as Troops to Teachers, and this program helps veterans to get the education they need, get the certifications that they need to be a teacher for like kindergarten, elementary school, and high school. So if that is something that you want to do, you want to be a teacher for that kind of, you know, genre of school education, then maybe this program might be something for you to help you kind of get the boost, to help you get the knowledge that you need and make sure you're getting steered in the right direction to land maybe a good teaching job. Kind of to hit on that, there was like this thing where I wanted to be a ROTC instructor, which is like the high school program to teach high school students about the military, drill and ceremonies and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of be aware that that's only available for typically either I think you have to be E6 and retired, or a major or lieutenant colonel or something like that and retired. So those ones usually require someone to retire out of the Army to be qualified to be a ROTC instructor. That's not just simply you want to do 4 or 5 years in the Army, get out, and then go into that kind of field. But you know, with this program, Troops to Teachers, maybe you can get into something like teaching history or teaching math or whatever if you only did like 4 or 5 whatever years in the Army and didn't actually retire. Now, a lot of the tips that I'm giving are mainly geared towards, you know, you want to work on installation, you want to work for the military, you want to work for the government, those kind of jobs, but not everybody wants to do that. And for those people, I would recommend getting an education. You have the education benefits of, you know, getting the GI Bill, using the post 9/11 or the Montgomery GI Bill, whatever you want to do. That will allow you to still bring in some income from going to school paid for by this GI Bill, and at the same time get an education that can hopefully lead to the job that you want to do. You might want to do something completely different from what you did in the Army, and there's a lot of soldiers that actually do that. I've known quite a few soldiers that have done things like this, like soldiers that were 88 mics with me who went on to go to nursing school to get a degree in nursing so they can, you know, work in a hospital. Individuals that, you know, went and got an education for being a mechanic because they wanted to be auto mechanics even though they weren't a mechanic in the Army, but they wanted to switch things up and got an education to get ASE certified and do all that kind of stuff. So that is actually a very common thing too, where people want to switch it up, they got to get that education so they can transfer over that, and they use those GI Bill benefits to be able to do so. But also the key thing with that is still being able to bring in some money to pay some bills, because the GI Bill does pay kind of like a BAH, your basic housing kind of thing for that area. It's not 100%, it's not the same as when you're in the Army, but they'll pay something, and sometimes that something helps you pay the bills while you're going to school. So there are some tips. Like I said, a lot of it was kind of heavy towards what I did, because that's mainly what I had experience with, was getting out of the Army and moving to like the government contracting side of that kind of, you know, world. So some of you out there who are maybe veterans who maybe have had some other experiences with how to get a job, you know, some tips that you have, make sure to leave those tips down in the comments. Help out some of these other soldiers that are maybe looking to transition out of the Army at some point in time, maybe soon, and want to know some good advice for getting a good civilian job when they get out. Obviously, for those of you that are looking to make the Army a career and spend 20 plus years, probably a little bit easier for you, because you're going to be receiving that retirement money that you get, a little bit different than the way it was back then. Now it's almost like a 401k that you kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a complicated situation, maybe a video for another time, but you know, a lot of those individuals have a lot of doors that open up for them because they retired out of the Army. For some of those individuals that only do maybe 4 years, maybe 7 years, whatever the case might be a little bit more of a struggle, and you need some of these tips to kind of help guide you in the right direction. So make sure to please leave some comments down below as any tips that you might have for any of those future soldiers, or any of those soldiers that are, you know, looking to transition out of the Army sometime soon. So if you enjoyed that video, make sure to show us some love by slapping a like on it. Check out some recommended videos over here. Links down in the description for social media, Patreon, as well as the sponsor of this video, Armed Forces Mobile. Thank you so much for watching. I'm ThatChrisChaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.